Hi everybody, this is John with Culture Chap. So today I wanted to talk to you about a play that I think has been overlooked for a long time, Dangerous Liaisons, or Les Liaisons Dangereuses. It is a play based on a French book, a French novel, and is centuries old, so you don't have to pay the playwright, so it's lucrative. There is a movie I'm sure you're all familiar with Glenn Close, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Malkovich and Keanu Reeves and Uma Thurman. Excellent. And Swoozie Kurtz. Uh, this is the pictures that are going past you are from a production in Stratford, Ontario, in Canada, and I think they're excellent. And I also want to point out in some of my past videos, I've talked to you about lobby displays, and I think these are excellent type of pictures for lobby displays. Um, there is the costume rendering and then the actual costume, how it came out, which sometimes can be different than the original idea of the costume rendering. So these are the actors on stage as the characters with the costume rendering behind them. This makes an excellent lobby display. Really, really good. Um, and these pieces and this casting is so excellent in Stratford, Ontario, that I think it was worth putting those up rather than the pictures from the movie. The movie and the play and the book have different endings. So it's whatever ending you think you should do. Again, you don't have to consult the playwright or the original author. I wouldn't change it too much, there is no need. But some people in reviews talk about the ending, how the movie ending is far more satisfying. If you're not familiar with the story, it's a bit of a love triangle. The the couple who are Valmont and Merte. Um, I was doing this video earlier, and one of my very helpful and beloved viewers from New Zealand is like, I think when you talk about dangerous liaisons, you should stop trying to pronounce the French because you have an American accent and your French isn't that good. Like, yes, I know that. So I'm going to use their first names, which no one ever seems to use. Valmont is Sebastian, or Sebastian, and Merte is Isabel. So Torvel, Sebastian, Isabel. Isabel and Sebastian Valmont um, are playing evil games. They're seducing people. They're ruining reputations. It basically is like the sex Olympics. Who I can seduce and why, and not necessarily how I can ruin their lives, but there's a lot of gray area. People like to gossip. We're not going to let them because we're going to hold something over them. This is more her than him. He mostly seduces as many women as possible based on their reputation, and Torvel is someone who is very pious, very religious. Her husband is away, he's a judge, and he's always away. And he's older, and, we're not quite sure why she married him, but she's definitely bored and just a God fearing woman who doesn't believe in extramarital affairs. So he feels that it is his job to seduce her because it's a challenge. And blah blah blah. As the story progresses, a lot of things happen, and in the end, Valmont and Tervel die, which is horrible. Merte, Isabel, is in love with Valmont, and is she settling down? I don't know. But he is her equal, and that is very attractive to her. They've already had each other, but she wants him back. How? Are they just going to be in an open relationship, keeping on doing what they're doing? Because that seems to be what propels their lives forward. I don't know. She never really mentions it, but she doesn't want him to die. But she's playing dangerous games with him, dangerous liaisons. And in the in the book and the play, she gets sick and she's taken away, which isn't very satisfying. And in the film opens with her putting on her makeup and smiling at her reflection like, war paint, I'm ready to go. And in the end, she's lost everything. She's screaming. She's been booed in public at the opera. The letters that prove back and forth what she has done to people for all these years is exposed. Her life in public is over, which is a big deal at this time in France. And she rage and scream and wiping off her makeup and just how horrible it is. We see her get her comeuppance, and that is very satisfying in the film. And I believe that people now don't change the play very much, but they change the ending so that we see her get her comeuppance somehow. That is up to you. I don't believe this should be a very expensive play to put on. It is mostly about the costumes and the wigs, and that's expense enough, and your actors. The set should be beautiful, but there are so many locations which the movie really... I won't say it has less character development, but it has basically less words than the play because there's lots of scenery and visual and so forth, which really works for it. But a lot is cut in the movie. When you don't have that in the play, or you don't want to spend as much on all these locations, then it needs to be flexible. And you need to sort of look at these scenes as more than just intimate people talking. There should be more bodies on stage to reflect the public. There should be scenes that aren't necessarily in the play, but take place in other type of events. So I won't say a cocktail party, but events where the whole cast is on stage and maybe some extras. Okay, they don't in this play don't have lines, but the idea of the public finding out is very important in this play, and you need a way to express that. So extra bodies on stage, extra events. The idea I had when directing this, which hasn't happened yet, so if you're out there and you want me to direct this, please tell me, is that we do reflect the film a little bit. There are events in people's homes. How you set that up could be very quick and easy. Mostly chairs, there's lots of wandering around, there's holding goblets, there's this and that, there's gossip, there's fans. We really get the sense of the 18th century with very minimalistic furniture. That this is an event, this is a party, and we have a singer. Maybe you have a singer that's wandering, and you have them wandering with a musician, which is something they did at the time. Okay? A violinist that wanders with an opera singer around the stage. Not wandering, but wandering up front for the big aria, and applause, applause, applause. And then when the dialogue starts, changing places. The violin and the singer go to the back. The singer sings quietly while facing towards the back or into the wings. Like, there's obviously more people at this event than the ones we've just seen on stage. So this makes it far more interesting. It gives a sense of time and place. Okay? And when she is booed at the opera, you don't have an opera, but you still have that singer and that violinist, or a lute, whatever you want to do to sort of give your sense, your flavor. And it's very powerful to have her exposed. Danceny has taken the letters. He's the young lover. And at the request of Valmont, Sebastian, who is dying, says, "This is Isabel's, these are her sins, these are our sins, and you might want to expose her," and she is exposed. So the ending of the play, you still have a singer and everything at an event, same kind of thing. We've seen this event before, and the singer and the music stops when she walks in, and they boo her on stage. This is very powerful. It's not copying the movie, it's doing something that really nails home she's getting her comeuppance, because the play doesn't have a lot of lines to support this. And if you remember, once he dies in the movie and says, "Spread these things around," there are no lines. There's just screaming, there's different scenes, and there's booing at the opera, and they're screaming at the end of it, wiping off her makeup. It's all very silent. Not silent, but there are no words, there are no lines. We don't need them. We don't need them. We're seeing what's happening to her, and the audience needs to have this satisfaction. Their mess has created massive ripples in their community. 2 people are dead. One from a broken heart. Well, both from a broken heart. Technically, Sebastian Valmont dies from a duel, but he's doing it because Trovel died from a broken heart. So basically, he's having someone in a duel that he loses on purpose kill him in a duel. A noble death, but then tears apart his reputation by exposing what he and Isabel were up to all these years. And we also, I believe, need to see the young couple. Cécile Volange is the young virgin from a convent school that Isabel wants Valmont, Sebastian, to seduce. And he's like, no, no, no. She's a virgin. She'll be very curious. She'll have her pants off immediately. Pants as in underwear. I'm speaking in the British. Hi, UK. She'll have her pants off immediately because she's curious about what men are and so forth. I have a reputation to uphold. But in a way, she forces him to do it anyway and so forth. But he uses it, and Isabel uses it as, well, young lady, this is your education from a very talented tutor. Enjoy it and move on. You have very few advantages as a woman. Take advantage of this one. Learn from a skilled instructor in the art of the bedroom and enjoy it. These are some very comedic scenes where she's like throwing herself on the ground, Cécile, and saying like, I didn't know what I was doing, and then I did it, and I'm surprised, and I was shocked. I invited him back, and she laughs hysterically at her, and the audience laughs too. And then we get, we get into the rest of it. The younger couple has they're a bit of comic relief, but not laugh out, not crazy comic relief. It's like tittering comic relief. Like, oh, they're just inexperienced young people. And we do see a little bit of the older people saying like, this is life. And we're actually helping you in the long run in our weird ways to be together. And you want to be together. So Danceny and Cécile Volange end up together, which is great. We don't see it at the end of the movie, but I've seen them trot it out together holding hands near the end of the play. Hard to do. But when you see Isabel get her comeuppance, is that the ending? Or do you want to see a little bit of some glimmer of hope that even through this mess, this young couple is together? And where would you place that? Where would you place that? Does that ruin the ending? Does that make it more interesting? Is it just a fleeting thing of them walking hand in hand and shaking their heads at Isabel as she throws herself off stage or throws herself into the wings or whatever? Do we see them together? That might be nice. Just a fleeting glimpse. It will be bittersweet, but it will be a good button to the play, which is a good play. Now, when I said you don't have to pay the playwright, you do have to pay the playwright because it is a translation from now. It's a translation from years ago. You don't have to pay the original author, the French author from centuries ago. So figure out what translation you're doing, because there are many translations out there. There is a main one, which I think is an excellent play, and that's the one you should pay for. Okay? But realize that you have options. You have options. You have options because you're not adding any lines in. Okay? So what you do on stage with your blocking to really let her have it at the end is up to you. You don't have to do the ending as written by this playwright. You can do some little added visuals of what happens to these characters on your own. Your blocking is your business. Your blocking and how these people relate to each other is your business. You don't have to be influenced by the movie. You don't have to be influenced by any other production you've seen or any other review you've seen. You have to make it your own piece, which I think a lot of people, smart people, however well intended, sometimes can't break out of that idea that I need to honor the piece. I need to do what others have done before me. I need to cast all white people. Do you? No, you don't. I need to do the ending exactly as written. Do you? Words, yes. But the blocking and the extra stuff with no lines, no. To really nail down your idea. Do you need to have Madame de Volanges, Cecile's mother, be as quirky and strange as Swoosie Kurtz did? It was done for irritation and comic relief. You can do whatever you want with the mother, but she is a little strange. She basically is cousins with Isabel and hasn't caught on at all to any of her tricks, and she's been around her whole life. She is the closest female character to Isabel, and she's never caught on. Which, are we thinking Isabel is really clever and no one's ever caught on? Or they've just been caught in her trap, in her web? And her cousin, is she dumb? Is she just been tricked? Is she well-intentioned and just loves her cousin and is a little blinded? Completely blinded by what she's been told, and her love for her cousin makes her believe everything she says, even though she's hearing things in the rumor mill. Because Madame de Volanges is basically the tattletale that tells Choderlos, the pious one he seduces, about all his antics. So she's got her ear to the ground about rumors. Rumors are a big thing in this society and in this play. This is their entertainment. So I think a lot of theaters have skipped Dangerous Liaisons because they think like, well, it's had its day. It's just another, we have reality TV shows right now. Well, no, it's a good drama. It's very well written. It's very interesting. And you can make it as interesting as you want and really study that time period, the language of fans, the language of what women were supposed to be, how they got power. What does it mean to have power? What does it mean when a woman has power but doesn't realize it or doesn't utilize it? And it's silly to believe your own cultural biases about the time period. Isabel is single. She has plenty of cash. French women at that time had more power over their land and cash than other societies. So investigate that and realize that it is more a story about a lot of femininity, women's power, and what they can do on their own in this society. So don't bring your ideas of like, oh, well, all women had to have a man or a father or this just to get a credit card or whatever you think. This is your years past. Women controlling their own money was something happening in the society at the time this was written. Okay? This is important. And they're not just seducing everyone and being coquettish to get power. What does power mean to you? This is a good piece for those other women. They're not stereotypes. Okay? What they're doing, what each of them is doing, is very interesting. Okay? And realize the hierarchy of servants and the poor and what it meant to be charitable at this time, because Valmont, to get Choderlos' attention, bestows money and saves a family from ruin, a very poor family in the village. Very calculated, but is this something he would do anyway? Is he just that kind of guy to be generous or to combat his reputation and how it's spreading? Because that being charitable was very high on the like, you're a good person. How wonderful. You're saving the poor. You're saving those poor heathens. So there's a lot to this play, and I don't see it done as much as I should really be seeing it done, because because of the popularity of the film, it gets people in seats almost in any country. The film was huge globally. The play has been huge for centuries in most of Europe. Um, but as there are so many pieces out there, it's been forgotten. I saw it on stage in 1987 with a relatively unknown to the world Patrick Stewart. This is right before he hit with Star Trek and was in a lot more films. He had done a lot of films, but more supporting roles in things like Lady Jane with Helena Bonham Carter, where he was just the dad, the mean dad, and even been in Dune, but then again a supporting character. So that was a good production. It was in London. It was very well received. I have to say, they made most of the scenes very intimate and they all looked very similar. The acting was incredible, but I don't think that's something you should do. I think you should vary the scenes and vary the locations and change up the furniture, move things around, have some servants. I'm advocating for you to have a large cast when the main cast isn't that large, but you never know in your community when there are people that want to be part of your theater that never get a chance. They're always ensemble, they're always in a small role. Well, give them something to do and put them in this show. Costumes for this can be rented a lot of places. Um, so it could be very lucrative for you in your theater, no matter where you are. Okay, Dangerous Liaisons. It's a good piece. Everything's in the description, and I hope you come back to the channel. I hope you subscribe. Please subscribe, and look into this piece. It could be good for your theater. All right, we'll talk again. Thanks.